My name is Owen Parake, and I contributed to this project by conducting and compiling research on the origins of this myth and why people still believe it. I'm interested in this topic because there aren't many other biological myths I have encountered that have spread so widely through our culture as have this one.
My name is Charlie Stark, and for this project, I contributed by doing research and communicating with the group to keep us on task. For this project, I'm interested in this topic because I've heard a lot about this theory, and I've always wondered if it's true or not.
Hi, my name is Allie Irwin, and I contributed to this project by doing research and compiling that research to figure out exactly why people still believe the 10% myth is real, and by doing the editing for the whole entire film. And so I am also interested in this because I'm kind of bewildered by the fact that this is still a thing, that people still believe in this, and I wanted to figure out exactly why and if it actually has any grounds to it.
Where do myths start and how do they spread? In the case of this myth, it can be traced back to the prologue of a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This book was a self-help/motivation book, and the prologue was written by a journalist named Lowell Thompson. In it, he misquotes a psychologist named William James who said that man develops only 10% of his mental ability, perhaps alluding to self-imposed psychological restrictions as opposed to biological ones. Also, the myth can be traced back to Einstein attributing his genius to his capacity to use more than 10% of his brain. Throughout the years, popular culture has grabbed a hold of this myth and run with it as a popular plot component to movies such as Limitless and Lucy, making it even more widespread.
The claim that humans only use 10% of their brain is false on many levels and can easily be disproven through modern technology, specifically a magnetoencephalography or MEG. A MEG is a neuroimaging device that measures magnetic fields produced by the brain's electrical current. Because of this technology, we are able to see what parts of the brain are being stimulated during certain activities. In a study done by the Mythbusters crew, they attempted to disprove the theory that humans use only 10% of their brains. To do this, they hooked themselves up to an MEG and exercised 4 regions of their brain with math and memory drills. Throughout the duration of the test, over 35% of the test subject's brain lit up and was put into action, thus disproving the claim. Another reason people believe that humans only use 10% of their brain is due to the fact that, on MRIs, brain activity shows up as colorful splotches, and to the casual viewer it seems as if only a small portion of the brain is colored at a single time. According to Joe Ledoux, a professor of neuroscience and psychology at NYU, this does not mean that only small portions of the brain are at work, but instead that MRIs highlight big differences in regional brain activity, not everything the brain is doing.
Sometimes people may justify their belief in this myth by simply stating that the 10% refers to brain cells, not actual brain capacity, thus making the assumption that there are 90% of brain cells sitting idly by. This cannot be true for the simple reason that if a brain cell is not in use, it degenerates. Our body simply cannot afford to be powering idle brain cells, considering the brain already consumes 20% of the oxygen we breathe while only being 3% of the body's total mass. But there's also a more relatively believable, yet equally untrue, reason for believing this, which is in reference to glial cells. Glial cells are the cellular components of the brain that are supposed to maintain homeostasis and provide nutrition to the neurons. These glial cells make up 90% of the cells in the brain, the other 10% being neurons. This could lead people to think that these cells are empty shells waiting to be replaced by neurons, hence giving us more brain capacity. This can't be true because maintaining homeostasis in our brains is vital and a main component of glial cells' jobs.
The final reason that disproves the 10% myth is examples in medicinal biology like hydrocephalus and the occurrence of strokes. These two issues show how small things can hurt everything. And so hydrocephalus is the accumulation of cerebral fluid in the ventricles of the brain. And this, over time, causes pressure buildup, which can cause some major problems. This includes and is not limited to learning difficulties, premature development during puberty, noise sensitivity, and a 1 in 3 chance of having chronic seizures. On the flip side, strokes are caused when blood flow to the brain is interrupted. This causes tons of problems that vary based on several factors that arise. But one of the most important factors is where the stroke is centered in the brain. But regardless of where it is in the brain, it'll always cause some major issues. These two medical issues show that it doesn't matter where it hits in the brain, it will always cause repercussions regardless. This is all because that we use more than 10% of our brain. Because if we didn't, then the strokes and the hydrocephalus wouldn't hurt us because it'd be hitting different places.
We started off by talking about how the myth originated with Lowell Thompson misquoting a psychologist in a self-help book.
From there, Hollywood took it and ran with it as a key plot component in several movies, thus spreading the myth even more. People believed the myth because it romanticized the concept that we all have untapped potential within ourselves.
To disprove this claim, we talked about MRIs and how black spots in the brain do not necessarily mean that the brain is not in work, which is a common misconception. Also, we talked about MEGs in a study done by Mythbusters that shows that when connected to an MEG, the brain shows that over 35% of it was at work during math and memory drills.
Next, we talked about and refuted the claim that the 10% number in the myth only refers to our total brain cell count. We also distinguished between glial cells and neurons and how both play a key role in brain function.
When it comes to hydrocephalus and strokes and any other problems that occur in the brain, it shows that we use more than 10% because if we didn't use the other 90%, then it wouldn't hurt us as much. So with this, that 10% rule kind of gets blown out the window and is kind of the final push to show that, because for like strokes, they hit different epicenters every time, yet they cause us problems every time.